you're in an ice cream shop. You are just one flavor. The shop is full of people that are looking to get ice cream. They're just trying to see what flavor they want. If you're vanilla, you don't even stand out. You're not even on the radar. So you would want to be polarizing by speaking your truth and showing up authentically, where the person's either getting a hell yes or it's a nope, don't want it at all. It's not personal.
Welcome back In the House podcast fam. I'm Tony Singh.
Good morning, I'm Jenny Woon.
We have an important guest today, Mr. Lucas Mattiello. Hello, Lucas.
Hello,
Hi,
Tony. Hello,
Lucas.
Jenny.
Hi.
Lucas is the founder, owner, and coach at Level Up Living, public speaking with confidence. So, Luke, why don't you... Oh, no, we're not going to forget this question. No.
Good catch. Good catch.
What is your spirit animal?
Oh, my spirit animal. Well, that's a really good question. To be honest with you, if I'm saying one, I'm making it up.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I have had on a couple journeys. I have had a lion walking next to me, so that's definitely it. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there's also one that there's a painting in Bali that I was walking by, and it was this art gallery, and I just look and there's like 100 options, and I'm just like, that's the one. So I went and bought it, and then I disassembled it to take it back, and now it looks like garbage because when I disassembled the frame, I wasn't good at putting it back because it's all crooked, but it's mine. It has a story.
Oh, that's important.
Oh,
that's
gosh. That's a really great answer. And I know that you didn't have one, but that makes a lot of sense. Because a lot of people also give up their, spiritual animal, but it doesn't they don't.
They're like, I don't know, you're putting me on the spot.
They're kind of fabricating the answer.
Do you? I haven't gotten that most of the time, but okay. So Lucas, we really wanted to have you on the podcast today because so many of our listeners are entrepreneurs. A lot of them are either within the real estate industry realm or just outside of that. And there's other people that just like to purely listen to it from a business standpoint. One of the topics we've been talking about consecutively is having clear messaging, either through communicating with clients, public speaking, or on social media. And you are an expert, I would classify you as, for getting people to get out of their own way and share their aligned message with a large group to make an impact. So why don't you share with us a little bit about your background and how you came up with Level Up Living? Why is it important to you?
Well, I think the first thing, that's a really good question. And the first thing is I'm an accidental entrepreneur.
Okay.
Like I've never had any dreams or aspirations to have a business. Actually, Tony and I worked together at a hockey rink many years ago.
Oh, when we used to teach ice skating.
Yes. So, I never had any aspirations. What happened was in 2010, I was working for the city of Burnaby, and I was laid off from my job, and I'd been struggling with panic attacks and anxiety for so long, for like 15 years, all throughout my teens and my early 20s. And when I lost my job, I felt like my whole identity was just gone, even though it wasn't a good job for me.
Yeah.
It was my identity.
It shaped your life.
Yeah, it's how you show up in the world. People say, "Hey, how's work going?" With this and that. And when I lost it, I lost it. And what I mean by that is just everything came apart. Panic attacks got bad, and I went to the doctor, and he looked at me and he said, "You're in bad shape. We need to get you some serious help." And I ended up going to Burnaby General mental health ward there, and I met the psychiatrist, put me through a program, and I was diagnosed with panic disorder, and I started a whole stress management recovery. Now it's important because that journey, I remember when he said to me, he's like, if you follow this program, you won't have panic attacks. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so that's where my life started to change.
Is that when the lion showed up?
No, absolutely. No, there's no lions there.
Because you said journey earlier, so.
Yes.
Good catch. Were you talking about breath work earlier?
It was more about cacao ceremonies.
Got it.
Yeah, where I've had
he's an interesting fellow.
Yeah, I've been in some places, but so what happened was that happened, and then what aided me in that in my call it stress management recovery or building confidence, whatever you want to call it, I came across Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw it, I'm like, it's a diagram, it's a chart, and I'm moving up the levels. And
Mhm.
that gave me a framework to build from. And it actually gave me so much hope and inspiration, which I was lacking. And I was like, wow, if I keep doing this, I'm leveling up my life. That's where Level Up Living came from.
Oh, I didn't know
Oh,
Most people
that.
don't.
Love
wow.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks for sharing that
Of
story.
course.
Wow.
So you're in this space. I mean, at the time you thought it was a curse, but it ended up being a blessing, which
Mhm.
is what happens so many times for like on all
Yes.
of our journeys, right?
Mm.
And now you're basically helping others to find their authentic voice in the public sphere. So, were you always a confident public speaker then? Because you had this difficult time and now it feels like you're on the other side of that.
Yeah, I am on the other side of it now. It's interesting. No, I wasn't. The
No.
short answer is no. I mean, I remember the first talk that I did. It was at it was at Douglas College for like a third year nursing school. And one of my
Mhm.
former hockey coaches, he was working there, and he's like, hey, there's this psych class, a nursing program, whatever. He's like, come and do a talk. And the professor, she's emailed me before, and I'm like so nervous. I don't know what to say. And she's like, I'm like, hey, what should I talk about? She's like, oh, you're good, because she thought that I was a speaker.
Mhm.
She's like, oh, you'll be
Mm-hmm.
fine. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I go there, and it's just this rambling mess.
Mhm.
The teacher saves me by going, okay, time for Q&A. We stop. I'm like, oh, thank God. So, thank God out of this mess. And the first question, I'll never forget. It was a young lady, probably halfway up in the rows. And she goes, now that you're back in regular society, how does it feel?
Mm.
And I'm like, regular society. So what happened was, when I said that I was in the hospital, she thought I'd been like locked up in an
Oh
institution.
my
And like this
God.
talk was part of my
Oh.
welcome back to society. And I was like, oh
Wow.
my God. So the rest of the Q&A was a blur. And I got in my car after
Mm.
that, and I just started bawling my eyes out, because it's all the people that were the naysayers, that people are saying, what are you doing? You're crazy. You can't pull this off. That voice was always there, and I was fighting it. But now the real feedback was like,
Mm.
oh, you want to be a speaker? People think that you just got released from a mental institution. And so
Well, the messaging wasn't clear, I
oh
guess.
yeah, no, not at all. And I was very nervous.
Yes.
So that was my start. That was my first. But actually, in that was a turning point, because I realized that there was two options. Either one, I get help, like from a training, or I give up and I go back to my old world and my old job. And that's where I made the decision that I realized, I'm like, okay, I have the passion for this. I know I can make this work, but I also don't have the training. I don't have the plan to do it.
Mhm.
And that's where I hired my first coach.
Oh, a speaking coach.
It was actually a business coach. Yeah,
Business
a business coach that did help me with putting presentations together.
Okay.
But that was his first. That was my first. It was like 2 weeks after, and even that, my mom was like, immigrant parents, how much?
Yeah.
How much was that? I go, is this much? And she's like, that's too much. You can't afford it. And I'm like, look, I can't afford not to,
Mhm.
because I do this. I'll make money after. Don't worry. But if it doesn't work out, I can be at peace with it.
Mhm.
Oh wow. So
That's amazing.
basically she kind of put it into your mind that it's a possible career to have. And then you're like, okay, well, let's give it a try. And
Who's this? My business coach?
No, your mom.
My mom. Oh no, she was against it. It was $2,250. That was the investment. She's like, you can't
no,
afford
the
it.
nurse, the nurse.
Oh, the nurse,
Oh,
sorry.
the nurse. They just had me come in to teach. Yeah, it was like, in that respect, yes, I was brought in as
Yeah.
someone to speak about it. So
Yeah.
that's actually a good point. Never thought about that.
Well, because that really plotted that in your head.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
In order to go see your business coach.
Right. That's a good point.
Maybe she was the catalyst.
Well, absolutely. If I didn't have that opportunity, yeah, it wouldn't have worked out.
Yeah. And then so that turned into a TEDx. And so what's your audience size that what's the biggest that you've ever presented in front of?
A couple thousand people.
Yeah.
But it's you go there. It's I always say different levels, different devils. As you move forward, you get comfortable with 30, and then it's
Mhm.
100, and there's a bit of a shift, and then after you hit a certain level, it's just a sea of people, and then that presents new challenges to still be engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. And so take us through that journey of how how you ended up becoming an expert in public speaking.
So that's the thing. I get asked that question, and there's no master's program of public speaking.
Yeah.
So people always ask me like, how do you start? It's a lot of trial and error. It's putting yourself out there, of course, learning from experts, working with coaches and trainers. But that journey was, I mean, so there was that talk there where I bombed and then had a pivotal moment. And then it was my first opportunity for a paid workshop was at an at-risk youth
Oh.
place in Port Moody, where the guy brought me in, the director, and he's like, "Look, I'm not going to pay you anything. I don't have a budget, but we'll test it." And so I did it. It went okay. And then he came back the next time. He's like, "Okay, I'll pay you $50 for a 3-hour stress management training." And I did it. And I remember at the end of that, I walked out and I had my check, and I was like, it meant so much to me. It wasn't the amount, but it was that someone paid me. It was the validation that I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But then one of the young ladies, she was probably like 14, 15. She came out and like chased me to my car after. And she goes, Can I give you a hug? I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then she goes, "Look, I've struggled." She goes, "I'm on antidepressants. I'm on anti-anxiety meds. I'm on antipsychotics for anger." And she goes, "The reason that I have all this anxiety, I don't know what to do, so I lash out." She's like, "This workshop, I have hope that one day it could change for me." And she was crying. I was crying. That was more than the $50. You know what I mean? So it was that, but it was the ability to see that you can actually have an impact in someone's
Yes.
mind, and hope is always the key. If you
Right.
have no hope, you're done.
Okay,
That's
which
right.
brings us to us as realtors.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you are an instructor now with the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver, and thank you so much. I'm going to take your course. There are so many realtors that are so afraid to get in front of a camera. It's now a new
Mm-hmm.
medium for us to use to tap into our audience, to our followers. What advice do you have for someone who's completely afraid to speak on camera? How do they get started?
Great question. So how to get started? I mean, I think if we're looking at it from a place of building you up, number one is you have to not only accept but embrace the fact that not everyone's going to like you.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at the showstoppers, the one that stopped people from even hitting record or posting for the first time, it's that one. There's that desire to be liked by everyone. That is impossible. So the moment that you not only accept it but you embrace it, when you embrace it, then you have a superpower, because now you become free to actually speak what you want to say, versus the filtered, watered down version of what most people do. So that's number one. And then number two, it's just be kind to yourself, because when you start off, you're gonna be rough. It's not gonna look good. But when you give up, you're not gonna get any progress. So that's really what we need to do. So yeah,
So it's like a psychology of it first.
Mm-hmm.
without those two,
Yeah.
I mean, because logically, every realtor knows they need to build a presence. They know they need to get their message out there. That's obvious.
Mhm.
But on the emotional side, in the inner game, that's where they stop themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
That's interesting. So you've just spoken to people that are afraid to, I guess, hit record, initially get in front of the camera. I guess some of the benefits of speaking your message clearly are that ultimately you can connect with your ideal clients and therefore increase revenue. Maybe you work with people just that you really genuinely like and are aligned with. So, do you have, I don't know, 2 or 3 tips that you can suggest for showing up with confidence and clear messaging on camera? So let's say they've gone through the first portion, which is I'm doing it. I'm going to hit record. And then how do they deliver the message effectively?
Well, so something that you mentioned that was really, really, really good there, Tony, was about attracting the right people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you take the power back. So if you're putting yourself out there, number one, go, okay, hang on. This is a tool for me to speak only to the clients that I absolutely love to work with.
Mhm.
That's where the polarity comes into. Get a clear list of who you want to work with and who you absolutely refuse to work with, so that you can speak to them. That's the first one. And then the second one is it's really about showing up for them. I mean, even internally, just imagine you're speaking to that one ideal client. When you start to think about the numbers and the people watching and what are they thinking, that's where people get lost. Just come back to, I'm speaking to the right person. I'm sharing my message. And for the right client, you are absolutely the right fit.
I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I guess because
Yeah, that's
because
important.
you're in a room full of people and you're like, okay, is this person going to like me? Is that person going to like me? Are they going to have selective hearing? And then you got body sweat going.
Mm-hmm.
That's great that you mentioned that too. Because here's the thing. It's a technique. If we're looking for tips, I call it the ice cream technique. Okay. So when you walk into an ice cream shop, let's just say that there's 20 flavors. Do you
Mm-hmm.
love each flavor the same?
No.
No, right? You look
Hmm.
at it, you scan the options. Certain ones stand out. You're like, okay, those are interesting. The other ones are like, ugh, who would possibly order that? And then there's the majority that's kind of just, it doesn't even hit your radar.
Vanilla?
It's a vanilla.
Okay.
Exactly. It's the vanilla ones. So that's the thing. You got to put yourself out there. So if you're a realtor, you got to think, okay, I am one flavor in this ice cream shop. That's all you are. You are one flavor. Now, the question is, what is your flavor? Because when you come in, this fear of not being liked by everyone is like people don't walk in and love all the flavors. So you go in, you're one flavor. It's like, what is unique about you? And when you get clear on that, you go, hang on, I'm a whatever salted caramel flavor, for example. The right people are going to go, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. They're going to get it. They're excited. But if somebody comes in and they want a rocky road, they're not picking you,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not walking out mad
Right.
that they got it. They just go in. So when you change your mind around, it's like, hey, there's no anger. Sometimes I see this narrative now. It's like, oh, fuck the haters and blah, blah, blah. It's like, why? No, it's just that's not the right person for you. That's all it is. They go in, they're going to get the flavor they want. So really the big takeaway with this is see it as you're in an ice cream shop. You are just one flavor. The shop is full of people that are looking to get ice cream. They're just trying to see what flavor do they want. If you're vanilla, you don't even stand out. You're not even
Mm-hmm.
on the radar. So you would want to be polarizing by speaking your truth and showing up authentically, where the person's either getting a hell yes or it's a nope, don't want it at all.
Mm.
It's not personal.
So this analogy for me takes out the ego portion that's often inside of us when we're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in front of the camera now. I'm expressing my message. Do these people like me or not? It seems like you're saying, be clear and authentic. Discover what that is for you. And ultimately, if the messaging is clear, you'll be able to attract those aligned clients directly to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense too.
It's you're actually doing yourself a service and you're doing them a service. Because that's the part too. People are like, oh, attracted. I'm scared to polarize. No, you're doing everyone a favor.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a line in my TEDx talk that I like. It's you do the world a favor when you showcase your flavor. It's you go in and let's say Tony is, whatever. Tony's there speaking truth, talking spirituality, all this stuff. Great. For the right people, they're going to go, that's exactly what I'm looking for. But if
Mhm.
someone's completely out of that, they're like,
Of
look,
course.
I just want someone to look at the metrics and give me the best thing. See, they're going to go, yeah, that's not the person. So you're actually helping them go, yeah, I don't want that. What am I looking for? I'm looking for someone who's, I don't know, whatever, the
Mhm.
opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing them a favor by saying, this is not the right option. What do I want instead?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not there to please everyone in the crowd.
It's impossible.
Yeah,
It's
you can't.
impossible.
Think of how many times do people give away free stuff and not everyone takes it? I mean, there's nothing that everybody loves, even something like chocolate. There's gonna be some people that are like, yeah, I don't like chocolate. So okay, probably a minority, but there's
That actually helps me quite a bit. It helped me quite a bit too, because I think you explained that before when I took your course. Knowing that there are going to be people that don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You're not speaking to them anyhow.
yeah, well, why? Here's the other thing too, from a self-esteem standpoint. Why would you take on clients who are not in alignment with how you think? They are going to be the clients that drain your energy.
Yeah.
That at the end of the transaction, you're like, hey, if I had the opportunity to give back the money, but save myself from all of this, I would do this all day.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've been in that scenario, but these are learning opportunities. When you look back, you're like, wow, this was not a fit. Great, learn and adjust.
Yes, that's good advice.
So why would you take on someone that it's going to be just a rough experience? And I even look at it too, is another test is I imagine if this person was calling me, how do you react?
100%.
right?
You can tell right away.
You look at the phone, their number comes up. Are
You're
you
like,
excited to answer? Or you're like, oh my God, do I have to take this? Like these types of things, like the body never lies. So when you look at it, it's that reaction that you get from just seeing their name or their number on the phone.
Yeah.
That tells you a lot.
Okay. So this is all mindset and psychology and
Yes.
working
Mhm.
yourself up before you get into the crowd, talk to the crowd. What are some specific techniques to make your message more impactful?
All right. So this is a good question here. And I spend most time on the mindset part. The reason being, if we look at strictly logically from a technical side, what do you need to do videos? You need a phone, you need a voice, so you actually have the ability to speak, and you press record and you press post.
Mhm.
Everybody has that,
Mm-hmm.
or most people have that. So that's the biggest obstacle is internal. Now, from a technical standpoint, the biggest mistake I see is people don't spend time on the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If there's one tip from that, it's what's the problem? Start with the problem, because if there's no problem, there's no need for a solution.
Mm-hmm.
So always start off with the problem. What are the consequences of it, so that there's some urgency? And then the other one is that you are a leader. So this is putting on your frame when you're doing it. Why are you there? You're a leader. Every time you're hitting those videos, you are leading your ideal clients to their goal.
Mm-hmm.
So take that on, because a lot of times, sometimes people feel a bit, oh, what am I doing here? Am I coming across salesy? Blah, 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 blah. If they're consuming your content, they're obviously have some level of interest, but
Mm-hmm.
lead them, direct them at the end. Where do you want them to go? What do you want them to do? Because you are the expert. They're here. They have their dream. You're the vessel that's going to get them to their goals.
Mm.
I'm just making a note of what you said. That was so important and impactful. Okay, I have just to switch it a little bit. And I think we've kind of already touched on it, but as a professional public speaking coach, what are the most common fears that your clients have about speaking in front of the camera when they've started refining their messaging?
When they started refining their
So yeah,
messaging.
there's
Okay.
the initial fear of, okay, I can't even get in front of the camera.
Sure.
So you've crossed that
Yes.
hurdle. Mindset is good.
Yep.
Self-esteem and confidence are
Right.
good. And then what about when they are starting to refine their message? Are there is it the same type of fears that come out that prevent them from expressing the message clearly, or do they encounter other obstacles?
There's always other obstacles. I mean, I always look at it, different levels, different devils. So you get there, it's constant. So I mean, I think the first thing is to really embrace that you're always going to have obstacles popping up. That is a constant, and that is actually something to be celebrated, because so that's the first thing. People, they hit a plateau and then they get safe. So if you've progressed from there, then it's about, in the beginning, it's interesting you mentioned that. So in the beginning, it's really about the fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
But then as people progress, it's the fear of success. That is a very sneaky trap that comes up. It's so I'll have people do a talk or do an amazing video, and then now they have a secondary anxiety that pops up going, oh, I've now hit a new standard. Can I maintain this level? What if it's not as good as the first one? And so that standard, do I feel deserving? Am I deserving of that? Can I be in that spotlight? New fears pop up.
That's interesting to me. It's a lot about dualities though too, but it's one end of the spectrum all the way to the other. And it's interesting that you see that often with your clients that are progressing through the levels.
The nervous system has to rebalance and readjust.
Okay.
And so even with my anxiety, there was a moment when I started making progress. I was driving to a business startup program when I started my business. And I just remember I'm driving on the freeway and I was just completely bored. And I'm like, it felt so weird to not be anxious. I was early for my meeting. I was no stress at all. And I remember I called my sister and I'm like, Steph, I'm like, this is so boring. She's like, welcome to the rest of the world, Luke. Like, now everything's a big adventure. And there was a part of me that I believe through the many years of anxiety and panic attacks, I was addicted because I was conditioned to have that adrenaline constantly pumping through. Without it, just a calm day, I had to rebalance my nervous system to be, because otherwise I'm on edge. Like, where's the threat? To be calm was foreign to me.
Yeah.
And so it took time to readjust and settle into it.
Can really see how these experiences, personal and professional for you, have helped you shape your business. And even the programs that you offer, which we're going to get into in a minute. Wondering if you'd be able to share maybe one of your most favorite client success stories for someone that's chosen to work with you, and just basically their progression to like what they obtained at the end that was so impactful for them.
One of my favorite would be, I'd say Jay.
Oh, Jay.
Jay Gagnes from Ocean 6 Wealth Advisory. He came in, and I remember when we first started, it was called Communicate with Confidence. It was 2-day training. It was probably 8 years ago now. And he came in, he was successful in his business, quite accomplished. But, and this is a common, I hear this a lot. People go, oh, you know what? Like, everything's really good in my life. This one fear, but when you put me in front of a camera or when you put me in front of people, I don't know. I'm not my confident self. I don't like it. And I got to overcome it. Great. So came in, we did the work. And I remember at the end of it, my programs after, it's a result of Jay, because he came in, had a really big breakthrough in terms of giving the first program is really about giving yourself permission to put yourself out there and getting clear with who you are. It's like who you are, what's your message, how do you want to show up in the world? That's the first. And then after, it's okay, so can I put myself out there? Can I start, owning my voice like you're doing here with this show? And so from there, he's like, okay, buddy, what's next? And I'm like, that's it. So I just got the 2-day training. And he's like, well, I'm not done. So you need to work with me because I know. And the honest truth was when he said that, I went like, oh, you didn't enjoy it? Like, what did I miss? Because for me, if I didn't nail it in 2 days, then I failed.
Right.
And he's looking at it going, well, he's like, he was a competitive soccer player. So he's like, I know that training and practice is essential. So we just started this journey. So we worked together for 3 years. And it was from that to doing his first talk. After that, he was on a panel. And then that was the big one, and a panel interview, right, at an event. And then after that, he was like, he got rushed by people that were older than him in his industry, and they're wanting his information, his card. And he's like, I felt like a rock star. But then it came down to, he did a big talk in front of a couple hundred people in Whistler. Yeah, these are people in his industry, and that brings up a lot of fear. It's like, am I an expert? These are my peers. Here am I sharing. And he just opened up, and that was a big moment for him, because he was amazing on the stage, but more, it was the personal. Because before, and he shared this, so it's not confidential, but I had a call with him the day before. And I'm like, hey, you just need to settle. Go to the river, go in nature. And he did. And he said before he went on stage, he went there, sat by himself by the river, and he was just bawling his eyes out. And he's like, all the fears I had as a child were just being released. He's like, Luke, I went on that stage, I was completely comfortable, which was, okay, again, unfamiliar, but that hit a new standpoint. So he's been doing talks since and building his business.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to know how this business has helped with your anxiety level.
Great question.
Yeah, it is. In the beginning, it was actually very counterproductive.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because I started.
I'm sure everything probably came up for you.
Yeah, when I started, I started again. I was an accidental entrepreneur, so I was doing these talks, and then people were like, "Hey, can you help me?" I'm like, I have no idea how I can help. Like, what? So taking clients on, but I remember my first clients, I was having anxiety, worrying about their anxiety, going like, oh my gosh, how are they doing tonight? And so it was very counterproductive. But then as I went in and I went on with it, I started to see that, everyone has certain challenges that they faced. They have certain things that they need to overcome. The theory, even with my TEDx talk, it's about, how to speak with confidence. It's about reclaiming your voice. So when you when you have children around you, there's no filter. There's no, oh, are people going to like me? Are they not? So that's the authentic voice. But then as we progress, we've had setbacks with it, whether it's parents, family, school, society, and it's not safe to speak. And when we have these moments, now there's that fear, that hesitation, and that's where people lose their voice. So this isn't a journey. People come with you, oh, you need to help me. I need to find my voice. I'm like, no, you have your voice. Yes, we can find it, but this is really a bigger journey about you reclaiming your voice.
I like that.
You had it. Stuff happened. We need to undo that, heal that, and then you can go.
So in speaking to that, does it generally, what do you typically see? Does it generally take you very long to see your clients reclaim their voice, or like, how long does it take? Is it a 2-day program, 3-day program, constant work, maybe a year? What would your...
So it really depends on their goals. In the beginning, in like Speak with Confidence or Confident on Video, in the beginning, it's people just get clear on, who are you? Like, who are you? What do you really want to say? What do you really want to say? Overcoming being the center of attention, that's a big one. A lot of people they're not comfortable. Even historically, being the center of attention is a threat. People see it as a threat. But when you can actually shift it and operate from like, oh, hang on, this is love. This is where I'm meant to be. That's where it becomes, you're able to stand and be grounded. And so we need that.
We're going to get to the types of courses and things that you offer.
Sure.
But I just want to say, I remember when I completed I think it was the 3-day workshop at the time, right? That was what, 6 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like, I still don't like being in front of a camera, but I will do it to if there's an
to
important
deliver a
message,
message.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
that
would.
I resonate with. So
Yeah,
I'll get that'll be what gets
that's
me in
what
front of the
made me
camera.
give you a call about
And
this
that's how we
podcast.
started this
Yes.
podcast. So thanks, Luke. But what I was going to say was, I remember distinctly on day one when you took us through the program, and I didn't realize that for me, I don't like being the center of attention, and I didn't want to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem if you're going to be in front of the camera trying to deliver an impactful message to your aligned audience. So I remember even just it showed up in the way that I was dressing too. I was covering myself up
Yep.
completely
Mm.
because I felt like the big sweater would hide me in front of the audience. And anyhow, I just remember that because I was like, oh my gosh, it shows up literally everywhere. So that first day was really impactful for me. And I was surprised that within the 3 days' time, I felt very comfortable speaking in front of people. And what was more is that you do it in small group settings, right?
Mhm.
So I noticed the shift in all of the people that were taking part in the workshop, and that's quite magical. So let's get into your offerings. What courses do you offer, and share a little bit about those? Who's your aligned client?
Hang on, but one sec. Could I
Yeah,
say something about
sure,
the
you
center of
may.
attention? Okay, thank you. Because you brought one thing that was really powerful.
Yeah.
Is that most people are not comfortable being, and it's from the place of survival, right?
Mm.
But that needs to be addressed because you mentioned not comfortable being seen. I love it. Most people, when they start, I always ask them. I go, "Are you here being viewed, or are you being seen?" A lot of people are viewed. What I mean by viewed is they show up, but it's an armored version of themselves.
Mm.
Now, that's nothing. That's not a knock, because maybe that's what you need to feel safe to get started.
Right.
And then as you go on the journey, you mentioned like the longer journey, then you can start going like, hey, the armor no longer serves me. Can I start taking it away, opening that up? But that brings on vulnerability, which is okay. But once you get comfortable with the vulnerability, once you start seeing vulnerability not as a threat, but actually as a way to connect authentically with the right people, then it becomes a superpower.
Mm.
But that takes time. So maybe you're showing up and it's an armored version. Great, do it. Maybe you put on a facade or whatever you have to do at the beginning. That's okay. Just get started and then know that over time you can undo that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for that distinction.
Yep. So
I
Yeah.
noticed that you call yourself, or you label yourself as an accidental entrepreneur. It's very like humbling if you do that. But what if you had this gift all along? You just had to go through what you had to go through, letting go, with City of Burnaby, going through the psychiatric ward, the nurse
Mhm.
programs, to discover that your real gift, your real superpower. I wouldn't call that accidental entrepreneur.
okay. So you're right. I have always had this ability. I've always been
Like an
connected.
extrovert, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I've been
Yeah.
very talkative.
Yeah.
I remember my mom saying, "Oh, we were at a doctor's office apparently when I was like 6, and then one of the other ladies in the waiting room was like, he talks more than any girl. Like I've never seen a little boy talk that much." I was like, "Oh wow!" So I didn't know this, but apparently that was me growing up. But I've always been just I don't know around people, and for sure I agree. I do have a superpower or a gift. I do a lot with sweat lodges, as Tony knows. And we did a ceremony where we took down the flags at the end. And I had this moment, it was maybe a year ago, where we took down the sweat lodge for the end of the season. And the elder Vern, he gave it to me and he's like, okay, put your flag into the fire. And I had the flag and I put it in, and it was a white flag. As soon as I put it in, this huge explosion of black smoke went up.
Wow.
And I realized in that moment, that's what I'm meant to do in this world. It's how many people hold it all in, and they need a safe container to actually unburden themselves to release it, because these flags have been in the sweat. And I was thinking, how many people have been in there that have opened up and shared their deepest fears, their insecurities, and unburden themselves? I'm like, that's what I'm meant to do. So I use public speaking, by the way. It's all a bait and switch. We'll talk about programs in a second, but it's all a bait and switch. It's all personal development.
Yeah.
I use it as the front. Oh, are you nervous to speak on camera? Oh, are you nervous to people? Yeah. But if I said to them, hey, are you low in self-confidence or self-esteem?
Sure.
People are either they don't want to admit it, or it's just a blind spot where they're like, no, I think I'm all right.
Yeah, the conversation needs to go deeper. Absolutely.
This is a great way to make it go deeper, or
Yes.
allow them to explore.
Yes.
And have you always been like this, even when you were young? Like the psychology of the mind, of the journey of trying to understand, like being really self-aware?
No, zero.
No.
I had
Because
no.
that's a great metaphor that you just
Mhm.
shared with us
Which one?
with the black flames
Oh
and
yeah, no,
everything.
yeah,
Like,
no. I had that.
am I the only one listening to this
I'm
conversation
listening.
here?
I'm just in awe.
I didn't even know. No, I appreciate that. No, I was just no. You're absolutely right. No, I wasn't. Not at all. When I hit 30 and I started going through my own journey, that's where I learned about personal development. I'd never
Right.
done anything. I'd never listened to a Tony Robbins audio or anything like that
Mm,
until I started my own personal journey.
mm. Great story. Okay. Let's go back to your offerings.
Aligned clients. Yeah, so they're they're leaders, so they're entrepreneurs or they're ambitious professionals, and they want to level up their life, for lack of a
Mhm.
better word. They
Mhm.
want to do that. They know that there's an opportunity to get their message out there more, feel more confident. And so whether it's everyone has different goals. Some people it's about, hey, I know if I put myself out there, I'll get more exposure. It's necessary today. That's going to lead to more clients. That's great. Other people, it's more of a personal journey. They're like, I want to feel the satisfaction of this thing's held me back. I want to overcome it. It's
Mm.
more personal, and they know that that's a catalyst to then, oh, if it happens to get more clients or help me make more money, that's great. But it's those types of people. They're obviously open to personal development. That is the big one. My red flag when I look at it too, when I look at the clients we mentioned earlier, the
Yeah.
ones that you give the money back to, it's whenever someone's like, just give me the best practices. Like I have one client in mind, and I knew I shouldn't take him on, but it
Mm.
was a referral.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a connection through one of my best
I think we
clients.
can all say that that's happened at
Yeah,
some point in our
right.
careers.
Mhm.
And I look back and I was like, I said yes because I didn't
Mm.
want to disrespect
The
my
referral.
my client, yeah, who I love. And and the irony, it was just a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare and completely unaligned. And then the irony as I talked to the client that I like after, and he's like, wow, he's like, I can't believe it would be a terrible fit. I'm like, he's like, you should have said no. I'm like, I didn't want to say no because I didn't want you to be like, what? And he's like, oh no. He's like, that's terrible. It's a terrible fit.
Oh.
He didn't refer. Sorry. What happened was they were partners. The client that I like worked with me. He started doing talks. Partner B got jealous seeing him doing talks. So he's like, hey, what was the name of that guy? He reached out independently, and I didn't know this. And
I see.
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess you learned an important lesson there.
It was a difficult lesson at the time,
Mhm.
but also I looked at myself, what I should have done in the moment. I look back and like, if I had more confidence, it was actually exposed a gap for me.
In your
In my,
business?
no, in my
Or in
personal
yourself? Okay.
personal self and business.
Yeah.
On the second day when I knew that this was not a fit, and he showed up late and he's like, oh, I don't even know I'm here, blah, blah, blah. I should be taking a day off. In that moment, my instinct, my gut was telling me, be like, hey man, you know what? Totally agree. Go home. I'll give you a refund. We'll do it. But I was afraid to lose the money.
Mhm.
And that cost me so much because it affected the rest of the group.
Oh,
So that was a very valuable lesson
it's good.
that it's like, hey, yeah, you're not a fit. Hey, I agree. No harm. Go. You'll get a refund. I'm out.
You know what's
Yeah.
interesting? Not to segue, but there's a really big difference between knowledge and experience.
Hmm.
You might know in your gut, maybe
Mhm.
don't take something on or do something, but the experience of the pain when you knew in your gut not to take it on, that's a
Yeah,
very
that-
kind
That
reminder.
hits harder.
It's different, knowledge and experience. So
Mhm. Great
that's a
point.
gift.
Yes.
I want to say though, so you do have the public speaking workshop. Currently, it's a 3-day immersive.
Yes.
It's in person right now, right?
100%. I will not do
Yeah.
online. I'll tell you that because it's just is not.
There's something to be said about getting the group
you
together.
can't
Mhm.
overcome the fear, the nervous system of being a center of attention online. I did it twice during COVID, and I said never again.
Okay.
Would you say that you've had less people signing up for your program because everything's moving more towards online?
I have some people that they're like, oh, I'd prefer, whether it was because of fear. They're like, hey, I'm not comfortable being in front of people right now. I said, no problem. When you are, reach out.
Mhm.
So yeah, I definitely, you're right. I could have scaled and, went a lot broader if it was online, but at this moment it could be being stubborn, but I will not sacrifice the quality of the
Quality
product.
of the delivery.
And the results
Yep.
for people.
It's not about making money. If I can make a few extra grand here or there by doing it online or actually impact people's lives, I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
Mhm,
No, that's great.
mhm.
So that course, are you Can you say share the cost of the course for that one or no?
Well,
does it depend?
It depends if I go to 2 days or 3 days, but it's 2,500 right now.
Okay.
So 2,500.
Okay. And then you also have the Confident on Video course. What's the difference obviously one's on video, but is there a main difference in terms of timeline, key takeaways for that course versus the public speaking one?
Yeah. So Confident on Video, it's more tactic based, where it's very specific to, I want to get videos out there.
Got it.
That's the Speak with Confidence is where I have most people start, because it's about connecting with yourself. It's a deeper personal transformation and like, who am I? What do I want to say? And then people are like, okay, now, even if they have ambitions to be on video, you're recorded at Speak with Confidence. So you're doing that. You're facing the inner critic, which is seeing yourself on video, all these things that people don't like. Okay, great. We'll address all of that. I look at it as we kind of clear up the beginning. And then the next step is the tactic based, which is like the output and the videos. And I'm actually shifting it. A lot's changed in the last year and a half, where it's all short form now. So that course is being focused to only do short form, whether it's YouTube Shorts, TikTok, LinkedIn, like 1 minute videos, because that's what's being pushed right now. Right. Before it was like 3, 4, 5 minute YouTube, more education.
Yeah.
But now it's just about the shorts, because we can build that. Once we nail that and get the exposure, then you can stretch it and go into longer.
Yeah. So you're keeping it relevant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just say I have a couple of speaking engagements coming up, but I don't know what the questions are going to be. So should I still take your course, the public speaking course, even though I don't know exactly what the topic is?
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because people say, oh, I want to speak with confidence, but
I don't have
a talk. I don't have a presentation coming up. I don't know what I would say. I say, okay, who cares? Because that's the thing. You're getting the skill and the ability to share your message. The thing is, your message is going to change, whether it's you're doing a keynote talk, you're doing a TEDx talk, you're speaking up in a meeting. It doesn't matter. The one thing that's constant, this is about you giving yourself permission to put your authentic message out there and doing it with a powerful place. Sometimes people come in, they're like, oh, yeah, I have a talk coming up. I'm like, great. But the content is always going to change. The one thing that's constant is about you putting yourself out there. That's what matters. I'm
glad you said that. It is really important, because I think that confidence piece and just being confident in your message, speaking from the heart, that's what's never going to change. Yeah. You could be in front of anybody. They could ask you any question and you're still just going to go back to where your message is going to be.
Well, yeah, I'm so glad you brought up speaking from the heart, Tony, because that's a big takeaway. I had a client, he was telling me at the end, we spoke after 2 weeks after, and he's like, that speaking from the heart bit that you mentioned on the third day. I go, yeah. He goes, I've probably read that on a lot of Carlton cards and these cheesy sayings. He goes, but it actually hit me. And he's like, that has made such a big difference in my life. The reason being, most people, when we work with them at the beginning, they're speaking saying, what's going to make me sound smart?
That's right.
That's what they're focused on. What's going to make me sound smart? It's like, hang on, what's inside? What do you actually want to say? There's so much fear.
So this is what I told Jenny a while ago, that I don't prep for certain things. Like if I'm going to be interviewed, I just want the questions and then I'll just reply. Because then I get in my head and I'll be worried about how it comes across. So whenever I check here first, I'm pointing to my heart right now, guys. The message is always the one that I mean to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So what if someone is on stage or they can't rewind or delete the video? If they're stumped, if there's like dead air and they forgot what they need to say, what's a good recovery?
Good question.
What's a good tactic to recover?
Okay, so they've blanked out in the middle of a presentation.
Yeah, they're like, I totally forgot what I was going to say.
All right, so a couple things. I'll start with what not to do. And this is what most people do. They get upset, they get rattled, they apologize. They go, oh my God, I'm sorry, I forgot what to say. Here's the thing, the audience doesn't know. So what I would suggest, you really have two options. Number one is pause and wait. Now that requires being comfortable, being the center of attention. That requires being comfortable in silence. So that's the first one, which can be difficult, but that is a dramatic pause that can come across that you're being pensive, that you're thinking about what to say next. So I would pause. That's option one. Or number two is make light of it and just be like, hey, this is me forgetting, like this has happened to me. Because here's the thing, you are the captain of the ship. You're steering it. how you feel is how the audience is going to feel.
Mhm.
And that's where most people flip it the other way. Oh, the audience, oh, are they hostile? Oh, are they loving? Then you show up and I feel safe or I don't feel safe. No. You are in control. So how are you feeling when you own it and you're like, hey, I totally blanked out, and you make light of it? Then it puts everyone at ease, it puts you at ease. So
Okay.
don't apologize for it. You either pause and you wait for the thing to come up that you need, or number two is you can make light of it. Or the third one, you can ask a question. That's a great tool as well. Kick it back to the audience, get something just to get started.
Okay.
Good tips.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to share about any new programs that you're working on, or not quite yet? Maybe I know you have some exciting things coming out in January.
Yes. So confident video for short form, of course. Speak with confidence for speaking with confidence, public speaking, but also just personal.
Mhm.
But in January, I'm launching my personal development program. I've done it before for my. It's always been just internal, but I got challenged from one of my past clients where he made me a challenge. He's like, "Look, I challenge you to launch your personal development," and that's what I'm actually meant to do. There's a concept of shadow careers. It's a guy, Stephen Pressfield. He mentioned it in his book. He was a writer, but he was a truck driver. And he would have his typewriter in the back of the car. And when he's driving, he'd stop and he'd write a key. And he's like, oh, I'm not really a writer. Who am I kidding? I'm a truck driver. Go. And this journey went on for years. I view what I'm doing right now with speaking with confidence and confident on video. I'm building the foundation, but that's my shadow career for the thing that I'm actually meant to do, which is personal development, which is like the white flag with the smoke and all that. That's what I'm really meant to do. So personal greatness, which is coming up in January. That's what's happening. I have a client. He's flying in from Africa. He works for the UN, and it's like this. It's been this huge undertaking to like get a visa ready. The thing is, it's been a catalyst because now we have to have a visa. And he's like, "Look, I'm flying in." He's like, "It's a very significant investment of time and resources to come from Africa, but you're the guy that I know this. You're the right person to work with." He's like, "Do you have any?" He said to me, "He's like, are there any other speaking programs you could recommend?" He's like, "Of course, I'm working with you, but if I'm coming all this way, I want to." And I'm like, first of all, there's no one I'd recommend. Honestly,
you're allowed to say it.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. In public speaking, I do not, especially locally, nobody. Because some people do one-on-ones or whatever. That's good for feedback on a speech, on a script, but to overcome the fear, to feel calm, you can't. But the catalyst was, I'm like, hey, okay, I actually have this leadership program. He's like, oh, that's very interesting. I'm like, yeah, it's personal development. He's like, oh, okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. And he's like, send me a course outline. I'm like, I don't have a course. I was up there typing up some bullet points. Like, yeah, we're gonna do this and this. So, anyways, the catalyst was he was the person that had me do it and commit to a date because I'm like, if you're coming now, I'm gonna do back to back. So that's
I guess I'll be meeting the guy in January.
Yeah, we know you won't let him down.
No,
because we know you're of service to your clients.
100%.
Okay. We normally end with some really fun questions, rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Do you have a few minutes for that?
Yeah, of course. All the time in the world for you too.
Okay. What famous person, living or dead, would you like to speak with and why?
Ooh. Mike Tyson.
Oh.
Yeah, Mike Tyson, because just seeing his evolution, and now I'm seeing his insights into human behavior would be very fascinating. Plus, I'm very intrigued. I'm a big fan of his show, and seeing the things he comes up with is, I think I'd learn a lot.
Cool.
Okay. What is your ice cream flavor?
Chocolate peanut butter all day.
I thought you were going to say vanilla. Just kidding. Name one person in history you think has been the most influential public speaker.
Martin Luther King.
Yeah, so good.
I have a dream. Like people who doesn't know that? I mean, it's just a masterclass in public speaking.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Ooh, tough one. Big-hearted, stubborn, and caring. I care a lot.
Last question. Where can our listeners find you? I suspect that people listening to this specific podcast episode are going to want to get in touch with you. So what are your handles? What's the best way to contact you?
levelupliving.com. Go there to the website, book a call. We'll have a chat and see if it's the right fit. And that's the best. Otherwise, on social media, at Lucas Mattiello is the handles.
Lucas, do you write everything yourself, like all the content and the programs, or do you have a team
No,
that's
it's me.
you're all you?
It's me.
Okay.
Well, I have people that audit my programs, and of course they
Mhm.
give good feedback on, hey, if you tried this instead of that, it would improve. So for sure that, but it's been my undertaking
One
of
man show.
well, yeah, just of tweaking,
Mhm.
of going. It's been years of testing and seeing what works and refines, and to be frank, right now, it's a very well-oiled machine. You give
Mm.
me anyone who's aligned and open, I'll make them a confident speaker
Mhm.
because the system is designed in a way that is bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not open to it, then of course not.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
anybody, because you can't hide. That's the thing. People, if it was like a classroom where it's a lecture, you can sit there and take notes for a couple days and walk out with a binder full of notes and a lot in your head. But when it's a smaller group and you're actually getting up, doing the activities, you can't hide, which scares people. But leaders must be boxed into greatness. If you don't feel that pressure,
Yeah.
then you're not gonna expand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I know you're going to be registering for
Well,
this.
after we get off this call, I'm gonna be like, can we do some one-on-one? I got something coming up on November 1st, actually.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to chat about
Yes,
that.
thank you,
Of course,
Lucas.
of
Okay.
course, of
All
course.
right.
We'll get you
Okay,
settled.
amazing. Well, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming in person today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Of course, this is amazing to see.
And yeah, everyone, enjoy listening to this one. Get in touch with Lucas.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Lucas.
Thank you.